One of the things we've done related to this kind of question of change of policing in Felixstowe is talk to people. And people have said all kinds of different things which you can expect, but there are some common areas. One of the things that people have specifically said is that they're worried about the way that smaller, lower levels of crime are dealt with. Is lower level crime becoming less important?
Well, when an incident is reported to us, as I mentioned previously, we need to go through a process which is known as Thrive, which is assessing the call in terms of the threat, risk and harm that it poses, what investigative opportunities there are, the vulnerability of the victim, and how we can engage to make that as effective as possible.
Okay.
Now, part of the investigation process has got to be to look at the crime and identify what obvious lines of inquiry there may be. And there may be occasions where, unfortunately, some crimes, there's very few. However, we will always record that crime and it will be on our system. We can use it to record in the future. Likewise, if there are opportunities to take further investigative routes down there to bring the people to justice, then we'll do that as well. But we've got to be proportionate in terms of what we're doing. So things like looking at CCTV, for example, can be valuable. If people have reported something stolen, they definitely know the serial numbers, or if they've marked it, etc. And that's helpful to know as well, because we can uncover those as well. But we have to be proportionate in terms of what we're doing, so that we're putting the right level of resources into each crime as it occurs. And there'll be some that, obviously, depending on the nature of them, will require more resources than others. But we are determined, if people commit crime, to bring them to justice wherever possible. And we know that certainly the support from the community is a vital part of us being able to do that.
How do you see the changes in policing impacting ordinary life in our town? Do you see it being visibly, noticeably different, or do you see it as being noticeably no change?
I think for the vast majority of people that probably don't report a crime and don't have much contact with the police, I don't think they'll see a great deal of difference. However, if people do report crimes to us and they've occurred, then it will be dealt with differently. The increase in people working in our incident and crime management hub will make a difference. People will be able to have a better service provided to them over the phone, rather than perhaps as things might happen now, which will be more appropriate. It will mean that the response officers are better freed up to deal with emergency calls, so that we can make sure that the nearest officer is able to respond, but the response officers whose primary task and role is to respond to emergencies and to provide that reassurance can do that.
So they won't be as tied up as they have been in the past with doing the subsequent work?
That's right. That's certainly what we aim to be the case, and the use of technology helps as well, so that when an officer comes on duty and is briefed by their sergeant, they then spend the rest of their shift out on patrol in their particular beat area, responding to calls from the radio, and dealing with what comes their way.
Whatever comes their way, yeah. Are we really saying that hopefully we're going to see actually an improved police presence, or no change in police presence? Because at the moment people say, well, we sometimes see a PCSO in town. We very rarely see a police officer in town, unless we're out and about at the time of day when we see police officers, i.e. when the pubs kick out down on the seafront. Are we going to see a change in that? Will the police become more or less visible? About the same?
Well, certainly in terms of the Safer Neighbourhood team, the four overarching functions that I mentioned, three of them earlier, the other one is community engagement, is about getting into the communities, in particular getting into sort of the more vulnerable communities as well, the more elderly people, children and young people, getting involved in that as much as possible. Emerging communities as well, as our communities change and become more diverse. It's important to get involved, in that, and build those relationships at an early stage with people, so that people understand, what policing, is about. So that focus should certainly help. But as I said at the outset, the crime type is changing as well. So we've got to make sure that not only we're able to provide a service that we can afford to police, but actually it works in terms of dealing with the demands that's placed upon us now. And if I look back to what a police constable does now to when I was a police constable a number of years ago. Some of the basics haven't changed, but a lot of things have changed. The world's become more sophisticated. I think we're a lot better at understanding and dealing with threat and risk than we were in the past, and also around trying to safeguard individuals and take I think a much more rounded approach. And it's really important that as we go forward that our service is able to do that. So each part of the constabulary is busy doing the right things and providing a service to the people that live and work and visit Suffolk, which is what we're here to do.
There is one little issue that we have. We're a holiday town, as you're well aware. On a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, when all the guys come in from Ipswich, and quite a lot of them are looking to, not to make trouble, but they're looking to have a bit of fun. And the PCSOs dealt with them brilliantly and did a terrific job, and those people were contained. They went down the seafront, spent all their money, had a grand time, walked home. If we don't have so many PCSOs doing that really grand job on the street, are we going to have more trouble through our summer, or can you look at adjusting things so that it all works better?
Well, to put it in context, under the review we've gone from 166 police community support officers down to 107 as of April. The role has changed in terms of the hours they work. There'll be more daytime focus, opportunities to work with partners, and they will have a better focus than they do now in terms of making the biggest impact on the areas that they can have an impact with. So it may well be that if you don't see them, actually they are working with more vulnerable members of the community and are playing a slightly different role. They will still be visible, but obviously, as you'll understand, in terms of building a model and trying to make sure that we've got the right people in there, the right mix overall, that it's that combination that makes the biggest difference to provide policing to a particular area. We want to make sure that continues. So if you don't see a PCSO, it doesn't necessarily mean they're not there, but we want them to be much more focused than they have been, and they have done an excellent role, and I'm confident that they'll continue to do an excellent role in the future.